Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Perspectives. It is Monday, January 31st, 2022, the final day of the first month of the year. Wherever you are joining us from this morning, we welcome you to the broadcast. Wherever you are in Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique, and those of you who are with us in the diaspora. I'm Brenda Batiste. Good morning to you. All the broadcast entities carrying us live, thank you so very much. MTV, we are on air and online with MTV. Perspectives, our own Perspectives page. Party Grenada, TNR Communications, Sisteraz Media in Carriacou, KG9, and of course, who else carries us? Mikey Live, that's right. Good morning to Mikey and the team and all those of you who are following us on Mikey Live. It's a pleasure to be here with you once more, sharing perspectives and starting off your week the right way. And it's now time to introduce our special talk panel of Senator Christopher Liali and Mr. Byron Campbell. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, Brenda. Trust you had a lovely weekend.
I certainly did.
Excellent. And good morning to all our listeners and viewers. Again, pleasure to be here on Perspectives and to share our views with you guys. I think the weekend I was looking at some of the papers, and it seems as though the politics is starting to dominate the content of those papers. But I also want to take this opportunity to congratulate a friend of mine, Mr. Derek Sylvester, on, of course, his new book. I think the name of it is The Trial of a Trial Lawyer. Trials of a Trial Lawyer. And of course, he's also the president of the Bar Association. Congrats on both fronts.
Yeah.
I think that is a major achievement on both fronts. So I wish him well, as I know he's going to have an interesting year as we look at that. And of course, Byron in the papers, they also had the issue of the contractual workers and the initiative by government. And of course, the rebound of our hotel sector is highlighted as well. Areas we can
enough to talk about, something we could celebrate on. Well, good morning all. Brenda, you said you had a good weekend. Can we have some details on this, maybe? I mean, not
I'll just share part of it. I'll share part of it. As you know, I'm a very private person. Well known but private. And so what I'd like to share, just join with Senator Liali in congratulating Derek F. Sylvester, Grenada's newest author. Of course, Derek is an attorney at law, and he is the principal attorney at Derek F. Sylvester and Associates. And he, since last year, about a year ago, I received a phone call from Derek.
Is he a QC?
Not yet. I'm sure he's going to end up there.
Okay.
Our QCs are Dr. Francis Alexis and Celia Klein. Those are our QCs, And about a year ago, I received a call from Derek. He said, Brenda, I wrote a book. And I want you to be, when I'm ready to launch a book, I want you to host the proceedings for me. I said, me? Why me? And well, I won't go into that since I'm a modest person, but it was such a pleasure to do. I started reading the book. I cannot put it down. It is so enthralling. I mean, it is basically his autobiography. And there, Dr. Francis Alexis said it best. It's themes of love and hard work and determination and compassion. And one of the stark things about Derek's life and in his book is just how critical grandmothers, aunts, uncles, the community is in raising a child. A place where, the amenities of running water and so are not available, but yet the richness of integrity, hard work, determination, compassion, love, all these things were present. And when you look at it, you wonder, we're losing so much, the social degradation in our society, the breakdown of the families. So it left me wondering, how many Dereks will we produce, because it is truly inspiring. So Derek, congratulations again. I really hope I added value to it. And get the book. Get the book, guys.
When is it and where is it available?
It is available on amazon.co.uk, amazon.com, and of course you can call Derek's office to get your copy.
Copies. I something happened this week, Chris, and I think mentioned it. A student, well, it's not like someone who studied veterinary medicine at SGU, a woman called Heather Douglas. She has a company called Grenvet, as a veterinary doctor, and come to Grenada.
I know.
She's been volunteering and raising funds to establish computer labs in schools around the island. The last one is at a Crowshoe primary school. You should see the quality, the standard of this laboratory with projector and printer and over 20 computers and laptops and for the teachers. I'm quite impressed. And what it shows is that persons who have impressed with Grenada through their studies through SGU have that give back, and the next school identified as one in Carrico, the Hillsborough Government School, and they visited there to look at the setting and so on. So I'm quite impressed with that, and it shows that what can happen where, it's an offshoot of the School of Medicine, and Americans and other nationals coming into Grenada and being very impressed with and giving back and supporting this. This is, I could honestly say, wow, that this is, I was so impressed with this.
Yeah, and I was mentioning, Brenda, to Byron earlier that, we had a billfish tournament this
I
last
heard it
week.
was great.
And, it was less boats, but it was well done, and the guys who came enjoyed themselves, and the prize giving was, as usual, great. And when
there's lots of people
comments,
tweeting about Grenada.
and I was about that's the point I was about to make. I was saying, Byron, we forget as a country how welcoming we are to visitors, and the guys keep saying, when they come to Grenada, they feel so relaxed. The warmth is unusual comparing us to other places and other islands. And we kind of forget that, COVID overshadowed everything, and we kind of forget that, we still have those advantages. And it was good to see, the event come off almost, without incident. And, it was excellent things. The fish was inviting as they would like to, but they got, I suspect the waters are a bit cold. So, but it was really good. It was really good.
Because it was off last year.
It was off for the last 2 years.
Okay.
It's amazing that we live on an island where safety is a given. So, because when you read the tweets, especially the Trinidadians, just how everybody just saying how safe Grenada is. And you're like, for all the money and all the industry and everything they have over there, safety is an issue. And so the quality of life and the safety of the island, we, the people who live here, we just
take it for granted.
But it's a big deal. And I think it is something we need to market and sell more and attach to our services and our products and our whole, because safety is a big deal. It's a big deal.
And you're seeing guys and families move to Grenada and Carrico.
Yes.
And
Carrico and Trinidad now.
It speaks volumes to what we have done over there. We are highly critical people. We criticize first before we compliment.
We're very conservative.
Unfortunately or not. But
we're very conservative.
We have really good things going for us. And the papers were just highlighting, of course, how the tourism sector have come back relatively good. With all the challenges we have with COVID and all the flights and all of that. But hard decisions were made, and the hotel sector kept the things with COVID, and they have to be commended for that. And I think the workers are benefiting from that. Those of them who took the decision to do what they have to do to ensure that their jobs are there, and they're seeing the benefits of it.
I think there's some good synergy as well, because I think the synergy between Barry Colomo, the chair of the GTA, Mr. Garbett, the chair of the Hotel Association, and then they have a really good CEO at GHTA, to Arlene Friday. And I think what COVID has done is created a sort of closeness for them. That's where they had to basically take care of each other and talk more to each other. And probably people who otherwise just gave a business call now actually check up on each other. So I think what that has done is strengthen the relationships. And so it has also positioned Grenada, because in the grand scheme of things, we only had 2 waves of COVID, while other islands had 4 and 5 and 6. And so it really, they have not stopped coming to Grenada. And now I'm looking on at Barbados, and I saw how the English people were in Barbados in droves. So, they are following the cricketers. So hotels are booked up. So that is another thing we need to, be excited about. But at the same time, all these people are coming you know, and they're coming for cricket and they're encouraging us to buy tickets and so on. And so I know we're talking to the Independence Chair just a little in a couple minutes, but one of the things that I want to place on the table, it may be controversial, but here's controversial me. Maybe Senator Liali rubbing off on me. We say, not too close. I believe that our independence celebrations, our national independence celebrations, should be the first test of how we integrate crowds back into the public space. I believe, they're billed it as virtual. I believe that a fair amount of people, vaccinated, unvaccinated, can be accommodated at our stadium. It should be a conversation with the Ministry of Health officials, and logistically, we decide how we do this. Independence celebrations is a national event. Our government must take the lead on this. We have to set the template for how we can go forward with this. Entertainment needs to reopen. Carnivals is set to happen. We're telling people, come out in your droves to cricket in March. This weekend, it's not too late. It's not too late. I know everything has been built virtual, but we at a stadium, we have the space, we are creative, we are innovative. Let us do the work.
So we can challenge the chairman now, later in the morning.
I'm not challenging.
Well, we can raise it. We can raise it.
Yeah, but I think the logic is following on from what you see happening internationally. What's happening in England, what's happening in Europe, and the Netherlands, and all of those countries. They're just opening up, and everybody is saying, you know, the general consensus, it appears, is that you have to live with this particular virus and this disease and whatever it is. And at the end of the day, your personal decision and your way in how you want to operate is going to determine your health status or whether you take this or not, and so on. So you're seeing countries getting to the point where, I don't know if it's fatigue, but obviously they're making the decisions that, listen, this is this, it's here, there's a solution in some ways or whatever you think about the vaccine or not, your choice, your behavior.
And that's reasonable.
Take responsibility for it.
And perspective, picking up controversial issues, well, I'm not sure what is controversial, but here's a case. This weekend, newspaper carried a number of commentaries on the financing facility available to contract workers. And I just want to comment on this briefly because I work in an environment where there are contract workers in a projectized environment.
Very young people.
Yeah, young people. And they have taken up the offer, the opportunity.
Great.
I don't think, because this is immediately bringing mortgage financing to a number of workers for one reason or the other, contract workers, where it's not being available to them. I understand, Chris, there's a bigger issue about how you regularize, if it's possible over a period of time, the question of contract workers, how you provide greater job security, if you call it that, to contract workers. But immediately I see this $10 million available to them to provide an immediate facility so that they can access, and it's his mortgage financing specifically. And I've heard various comments, but I've not heard any contract workers commented negative on this facility. What I know in the environment where I am, see it as an opportunity, and they went for it because this is something they've been struggling with before in terms of how do I access financing. And this is what it is, and I think that, in my view, I compliment the administration for providing such an important facility. And this is not going to, as I heard, interfere with the commercial banks or credit unions in terms of making them less viable. This $10 million is not large enough to make any dent anywhere in the normal financial system.
That's correct. And I think the comment I would like to make on that is, and I've seen all the opinions on it as well, plus and minus opinions. And I think at the end of the day, there was this huge complaint about contract workers not being given the opportunity to access financing in a long-term way. And the government came and said, okay, we understand we can't regularize 1,700 contract workers and make them permanent because we have restrictions under the Financial Act and keep it at 9% of GDP, the wage bill of the government. So they're constrained on one end. So they're saying, here what? We're going to try this $10 million injection, and put it with GDP at 3% interest, as you know, and let us see the uptake and whether this can help relieve the issue with contract workers getting access to financing for more long-term mortgage type activities. So it has to be commended from that point of view. Of course, in everything that you do, so I suspect the biggest issue is going to be if you have a contract for 3 years, are you sure it's going to be repeated again or renewed for another 3 years or 6 years, as the case may be, and so on. So that puts a little risk in the whole thing for the financing. But the GDP and the conditions of the loan is that, boy, if you're out of work, you know, for 1 year, no interest will accrue, no payment, try and see if you could get something and come back and talk to us. And so that gives some flexibility within the arrangement. So I think the initiative has to be commended from that point of view. And as you said, $10 million towards the major financial institutions, the credit union movement is a drop.
And the other point is, like, it appears that anything that is done now is linked to an election or a government.
Right. So when I was really, I have not paid enough attention to it in terms of the details.
Okay.
But I paid enough attention to the announcement and that sort of thing when it was made on Wednesday.
Yeah, I think
yes,
so.
on Wednesday. Right. Yeah, I couldn't even follow that through completely, but I did see Finance Minister Gregory Bowen and some officials from the GDB thing. I tried to call someone yesterday to get the details, but immediately what it was is that for me this thing is deeply personal, having the indecency of a contract in a former workplace. So when we interviewed the Prime Minister in December, it was one of my top 3 questions for him. And I remember raising that with him. And I remember him answering that they were working. He said, he didn't use the word impossible, but he explained why it was difficult for the government to make everybody permanent. Right? The public workers, those on contract, the young people especially. He explained why, because of the IMF and all the situation with the debt and so on. And reading some more on that further, that is happening everywhere. There's stipulations. They're not making people permanent. Contract is becoming a global phenomenon. That's the way we're going to live. As a matter of fact, what is job security in 2022 and beyond?
I have a definition.
That's a debate.
I have a definition.
So when I saw that, I thought to myself, okay, here's some remedy. Here's some remedy. But as and he did say they were going to do something, and I thought, oh, that was kind of quick. And here's some remedy. I subsequently spoke to 2 individuals that I know, because one had come into my inbox to thank me for asking the question when I did so at the press briefing. And he said to me, what has happened is that he can now, there's a piece of land in his area that he wants to buy, and he can now buy that land because he has been put off by 4 main institutions because of his contract. You know, I think what we really have to address, instead of making the noise about making people permanent, because we have to be real. And Senator Liali, you can speak more to this, because I'm sure you're in the know about what business practices are globally, what the ILO says, blah blah blah, how IMF feel, blah blah blah. But the thing about it is, I believe in contract work, gentlemen, it needs to be proper remuneration. It needs to be decent in terms of the time of the contract. So like you said, with the 3 years, you don't know. If somebody have a 3-year fixed contract, a 5-year fixed contract, but you can't be giving people contracts for 6 months and 1 year and that kind of thing and expecting them to, you take it to a bank. And another thing that needs to happen, the interaction, because the job market has changed, everything around it needs to change. So what is the view of how are the financial institutions reacting to this? I think they are getting more accommodating, but that is where policy needs to go. Instead of us just there giving people the false impression that we all can be made permanent, or when you're appointed, that's your job for life. No, that is dead.
It's true, Brenda. This is a new paradigm. It's a new environment. And you asked the question, what is job security? I'm in a projectized environment, and we always speak about job security is your ability to be employed, and that calls for constantly updating your your talent, whether it's educationally or your experience. And that's where the job security comes in. I think we are used to the past where there was a job for life. You've seen less of that because you very much you operate in a projectized environment. And therefore, and we see that the young professionals and others that are coming out, they understand this. And they're prepared for this.
Don't want to be pinned down with jobs for life.
No.
So the financial institutions must understand this.
No,
Absolutely.
exactly.
Yeah.
I think the financial institutions are adjusting. I think everybody understands that there's no longer this job for life thing as well.
Yeah.
And how we used to view contracts before. And I mean, the contract issue depends on situation. In a projectized environment, it is the mode.
Yeah.
Right?
No.
We say in an institution where jobs or positions in a particular firm are more permanent, then the people you want there would tend to be in a more permanent situation. However, you still have a situation where a lot of us in the private sector are moving to contract arrangements.
Of course.
And, you know, a lot of people have been given, businesses don't want to have the cost of dealing with pension arrangements and fighting up with you to find out if, you know, to put your pension here. You are now in the first world nations in the world. You have to fight. You have to find your own instruments to invest for your future down the road.
Correct.
And your pension arrangements and contracts are designed in such a way to do that. Now, our labor movement is still in the archaic view that, you know, contract work is a big sin, and they're totally against any form of contracts in the sense that where there's permanent positions and so forth. But it is one of the modes, as Brenda is saying, the environment is changing and that is changing, and we need to put our minds around that, both from a financial institution point of view and generally how we accommodate this and move forward with it, because it is going to be the new way. And as I was saying, a lot of young people don't want to come and stay in a business place and work for 20 and 25 years. They want mobility. They want the ability, as you say, Byron, you know, trainability and your ability to offer your services differently. These young people are training on various platforms.
That's
and
correct.
As far as they're concerned, they don't want to be bogged down.
Right.
Yeah.
So the Gen Xers and the baby boomers, your generation, my generation, Gen Xers, you speak to millennials. They're different in their thinking.
That's right.
They do not, okay, so like your generation to have land and you know you're there and you're working for $1,500 and you're giving the bank $800 for this land for how many years? Then when you reach out, then you build this house and you talk to millennials and they tell you, hello, no, I want to travel the world. I want to invest in cryptocurrency. You know, I talk to my niece, she's like, Auntie, what? I could buy a house. I could buy a condo. I am not doing that. You know, and that is the kind of shift in thinking. So we have to really, you know, be broader in our thinking and really stop narrowing everything into this little box. And because Chris do it and I have a problem with Chris, but how Chris could do that? Oh, that will make Chris look too good. Let me run out there and see how I can mash it up or see if I can throw a set of barbs in the wheel instead of, even though I am fine with opposing views are great, but come, give some measure. Be reasonable. Come with some sort of, and provide some scenarios and solutions and all of that sort of thing that the person you're opposing did not provide. That's what you call a healthy debate. That's what you call argument. That's what you call healthy discourse. But we just seem to be going dong, 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 dong. And then when you look carefully and you pull the threads, you realize, that's not really what it is.
I mean,
that's that nonsense over there.
In this environment we live in now with financial challenges and resources and governments, you know, have a lot of challenges in where they put their money and how they put their money. Any initiative that tends to give workers a relief, whether it is through employment, whether it's through initiatives like this, money is put there. And I mean government, and I'm not praising the government for praising's sake, but what they have done in GDP in the last few years, the monies they're putting there for small and medium term people to access loans in a business environment, whatever business you want to do, as well as this new initiative. I mean, that has to be commended in this environment. We forgetting that the environment, the sectors that we traditionally support us are not fully back. And there are challenges still in generating resources to get things done. So, I mean, yes, you may tout it as political or whatever, but what is not political in our country?
But what is the government supposed to do? Not remedy?
Exactly.
If there are issues, that has been an issue. So it is an attempt at remedy. It is in a period of election.
And not perfect.
Yeah, it is.
Perfect, but
to put it as that, you know, I mean, So let's look at the attempt to remedy, and there may be other things going on as well.
Well, remember, Brenda,
but let's just keep our eyes on that.
There was this big complaint about gas price and so on. The government put a $15 limit. They put the thing on Grenada. They've been trying to operate within the constraints.
I was speaking to someone yesterday, and they kind of opened my eyes to this, because I didn't even think of it that way. And they said, Brenda, people in the private sector, there's still people operating at half-month pay, people operating at XYZ pay and all of that. The public servants have been the largest beneficiaries of benefits in this environment. Mm-hmm. They made a point that in the last 60 days or so, the double salary, the half for some of them, the 4% in January, and now this situation at the GDB. So and I was like, yeah, seriously, because I never thought of it that way. And I was like, yeah, seriously, that has happened. How many of us in the private sector can you speak to tell you that we have gotten these things from our employers in the last 6 months?
Brenda.
How many?
Brenda. And the conversation is welcome, but part of the conversation, Chris, we were talking about it earlier on, has to be on productivity. That is the ratio between the output volume and the input volume. In other words, are we giving our best? When last did we measure it, by the way? I want to hear that conversation. That conversation has
what's
to
the
go
yardstick?
on. Are we, when we look at the financing and the other inputs, the resources, what is the output we're getting from it? Is it beneficial to the country? Are we getting the best for it? So I think unions, labor, and all of us must join this conversation about productivity. Where are we with this question, in Grenada in particular?
Well, I'm not the best person to start that conversation. We could go to the end of the moods. I've preached that. I think the biggest challenge, and I was at a barber last night.
Last night?
We could tell.
Yes.
We could tell.
The barber trims me in the night.
Okay, all right, good.
And he was saying, that conversation came up among the guys that were there, and some of the guys were making the point that our attitude to work, and these are guys that have engaged people. And the biggest challenge in Grenada we still have is getting people to work as you would like them to. So it's an attitudinal problem towards work, which affects the productivity as well. So, and we see it in agriculture all the time. You employ somebody to come in, and in construction, when they come at 8, they sit and have breakfast for half an hour, they chat and so on, they get started at 8:45, then they go off early for lunch, and they go off early for the end of the day. So you lose 2-3 hours in a day. And when you try to insist that, here man, I am paying you for 7 or 8 hours a day, I want you to work for 7 hours.
You miss one.
You're slave driving.
Once 3 o'clock comes, they get into the reset mode for the day is done. And nothing we're doing after 3.
You see that in critical sectors like construction, critical sectors like agriculture, and so on. And when you insist that, you should pay attention to that, and they tell you, well, you are a slave driver, and you're trying to press them, but it is all about how we want money, but we don't want to give the output.
That's
and
true.
the work, and all of us who employ people at different levels will see it.
See that.
Now the labor movement will argue, well, you need to create the right environment, you need to incentivize accordingly, and so forth and so on, and that is justified. And the labor movement always say productivity is a management issue.
It's a management issue.
It's not a
work
person, because if you don't create the right processes,
the
right environment, and that has validity.
For labor, what they manage is the welfare of workers. And in-house you do that too, through your HR departments. But in terms of the productivity of the business, I think it's incumbent upon the managers of the business. Because if you don't take care of your people, through the way you communicate, policies set, in remuneration, motivation, all those things. If you don't allow people to thrive in the environment, then productivity will be people just come in and just not.
Yeah, but the other side to that coin is that when you invite labor to have discussions on you in your business as to how we could improve, but they never turn up. You only turn up when there's discussion for CLA, collective agreements, and then they give you all the different things. They never come.
Maybe that's not at their wheelhouse.
But if you, I always view unionism I encourage that in a business space because it's good balance.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's a partnership.
Right.
The business and,
Right.
and the trade union
That's
movement.
right.
So I encourage that. But at the same time, the trade union movement have to understand that if you want to become a true partner to the business, you have to be there.
Yeah.
You can't only come when it's time to negotiate wages and those other benefits and so on, which is fine.
Yeah.
So, you have to, it's a real issue here in Grenada, but I think the real core, when you drive deep down to it, Byron, is our attitude to work.
I guess there are people who have made a difference because I know of people who say that people like Ms. Clarice Charles and Senator Chester Humphrey who have helped them develop policies for workers in their company outside of the whole trade unionism thing, how they set things on track and all of that. So, I guess, there are people who stand out in
we need to get our guests going.
And anyway, we are talking, it's the week we're heading into celebrating the nation's birthday next Monday. And this morning we're talking to the chair of the Celebrations Committee, and that is Mr. John Williams. And we have him here. He's already seated. No zoom in. You have him in the hot seat because we want to find out, and me in particular, how we seat some people in the stadium for independence. Yeah, sticking to that. We take a break. We'll be right back.
Grenadians at home and in the diaspora, let's celebrate our 48th anniversary as an independent nation, overcoming adversity, safeguarding livelihood, protecting our future. Events to observe the 48th anniversary of our independence include National Colors Day and Interministerial Display, along with the virtual staging of the Independence Calypso Monarch competition at the Kirani James Athletic Stadium on Friday, February 4th, February 5th from 7 p.m. Cultural extravaganza, Kirani James Athletic Stadium. Both events will be carried live via GIS Channel 22, GIS Facebook and YouTube channel, and the National Celebrations Committee Facebook page. The National Ecumenical Service, Grenada Trade Center, 3 p.m. Sunday, February 6th. Then on Monday, February 7th, Independence Day. It's the military parade and rally, 10 a.m. at the Kirani James Athletic Stadium. Happy 48th, Grenada.
Get Vax. It's your best shot. Hello.
A message from the Ministry of Health.
Grenada.
Welcome back to Perspectives. This morning with us, special guest panelist is the chairman of the National Celebrations Committee, Mr. John Williams. And all this week, we're culminating the activities to mark our nation's 48th celebration of independence. And we welcome him to the program. Good morning, Mr. Williams.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. And good morning to your listeners and on all the various platforms. It's good to be here. It just feels like just a few months ago I was here talking about 47. And here I am talking about 48.
That's true.
I enjoyed the conversation. And it's not controversial. We're going to have a discussion this morning.
Oh, it's not controversial.
Yeah, no, I love controversy, but I will forgive you.
You sure it's not controversial? Or why I was saying it here was on your phone saying...
No, I was just making my little copious notes saying, how to deal with this in a strategic manner.
Just teasing.
No
But before we get into the modalities of how we're going to accommodate all of the celebrations and the type, in the way we're going to do it, the theme of independence this year, what is it and why?
Okay, the theme, straight into it, overcoming our adversities, safeguarding livelihoods and protecting our future. And interestingly enough, this is one year where we decided as a committee we're going to have to sit down and really try and come up with something that is meaningful, appropriate, relevant in the face of what's been happening. So we had the main committee, we talked about it, we said we need to sit down and see how we can come up with something with meaning. Afterwards, we then had some brainstorming with a subcommittee, and we went through a host of words, phrases, what it is we need to say, how is this what we need to tell the general public that would speak to COVID, speak to what we're doing and how we're doing it. And normally we would send to Cabinet, in fairness, to say this is a theme because tied in with the budget theme. We want to make sure that independence ties in with budget and everything else that goes on. And interestingly enough, we sent to them not 3 or 4. We normally send 3. This time I think we set about 7 because there were so many in between.
Okay.
What is good, what we believe to be appropriate. And in fairness to them, I'd like to thank them for their contribution, because when the theme came back with all of what was sent to them, this came up. And we all felt, yes, this is it. You know, overcoming our adversity is real.
Yeah.
We understand what's going on. Safeguarding our livelihoods. And you all were speaking earlier on about work and ethics and what we need to do. And we feel that a lot of people were disadvantaged through COVID in one way or another. And
a lot of people died.
A lot of people died, and some of them are still suffering now. There are people, as you've made mention, in terms of their financing and in terms of their livelihood, they have not yet reached that position, you know, sort of pre-COVID. And then we're talking about the future. It has to be a future. What is the future going to look like? And that's where we say we need to protect our future by way of those who are prepared to take the job, those who are not prepared to do it, those who are prepared to say to the employers, listen, I'm going to hang around, but I'm not going to hang around. And so many things comes into play. So it was, to us, it's an appropriate theme, very appropriate for this 48th anniversary of independence. You will have seen our logo, which I was supposed to walk with it, but it's a very colorful 48. The young guy who did it, and I need to speak to that, he took part in the national, the competition that took place a few years ago. Very skilled, very inspiring. So he did 47, and he did 46, because, you know, normally we would go to the schools, ask them to take part in the sort of logo and theme competition. But because with what's been going on in the schools, you really don't want to give them any additional problems in terms of that. And this young man, Vanel, Coffee, we asked him, please, can you see what he can come up with? And he came up with a number of ideas and submitted them to us, and we looked at it. And this one, when we all looked at it, we thought, that's it. Because, you know, our color, bright, vibrant, direct, and everything else. And we were very happy to be able to come up with a theme that corresponds with a logo, looks good for 48. We're looking to 49, and we're looking for 50. Right now, this is just the preamble to our 49th and our 50th anniversary.
The logo is fantastic. When you look at it, the vibrancy, all of those things.
It is, in fairness, and we want to thank him for that.
Yeah.
And you said we have a lot of skilled individuals in this country, a hell of a
very
lot,
talented,
really talented, real talent. So I want to give him kudos, because I think he has done a lot for us. So here we are, 48. So much is happening, so much is going to take place. I know we're going to be talking about the rationale. Why is it that we haven't got an in-person spectator audience, call it what you will. But I will always say this, out of abundance of caution. You have to be careful. We're talking about protecting, preserving. We know that the percentage for vaccinated person is not as good as it ought to have been. So what we did, initially the idea was we would have in person. We need to have a small crowd, or sufficient, especially to support the artists, the extravaganza and the Calypso show. But when Omicron stepped in, and we look at what is happening, and I really felt, or we felt, I really wouldn't like independence to be a super spreader, because there'll be individuals who will say, get them in, and tomorrow they'll be saying, how irresponsible of you. What steps did you take to preserve and protect, and so forth and so on.
So the question is, what steps can be taken? Because we still seem to be clutching on to all of these things, why we shouldn't. But we're saying that on the one hand, and then there are other things happening. You know, we need to, so we now have,
we need to be consistent.
And I feel strongly about this, so.
I can tell. There's nothing wrong with that. There is merit in what you said. I'm not going to.
So we're now at 1628 in terms of active COVID cases in Grenada, 1,628, right? And we are having our national independence at the National Stadium. We are saying we need to live with COVID. It is one of the places where we can accommodate people. Can it be a place where we try to live our new norm instead of saying, what if we are super spreader? How will we work
Yeah.
How we work? How do we work to put things in place to ensure it's not a super spreader? So how can we say, 500 or whatever? How can we do that? We seem to be clutching on to why we shouldn't instead of
why we
can't, how we move forward.
No, all of these was thought about.
Is that unreasonable?
Some of the things you say, there is merit. But on the other hand, when you're organizing a show like Independence event, it's not just, it's a lot of logistical
Okay, so what about the
requirements.
parade on Monday? That's where my head is at. I wasn't even at the Calypso show and all of that.
Okay.
What about the parade on Monday?
Okay, so my question to you is, how many people would you consider to be suitable to come into the stadium? Let's say
I have no idea. My questions are to you.
Okay, so my answer would be, again, out of abundance of caution.
Okay, so let's go with
And
the
you may
abundance
disagree
of
with me, so we
caution
have to agree to disagree. The parade on Monday will be virtual, on a virtual platform. Last year we had it. It was well executed. The presentation, the performance, the production was great. Now this year, what we've said, you couldn't have, for example, the parade in person, but the Independence Calypso show and the extravaganza platform. People will say, what are you doing? You're not very consistent. Why are you having a parade in person and then you chose not to have it, and especially at the same location? Why would you not invite people to the Independence Calypso show and to the extravaganza, but you will invite them to the parade?
It's too late. It's too late to relook having people at all the events?
No, we looked at all of that and we said for this year, for 48, there's a build up to the 49 and to the 50th. Last year we were saying hopefully by 2022 we wouldn't have to worry about COVID. To the extent, and if you listen to all of the arguments, Fauci and all international, we were saying 2022 we'll be okay. We'll be able to get back on the cruise ships. We'll be able to get back to work, and the environment, the enabling environment would allow us to get back to some sense of normalcy. Here we are. If you look at the figures statistically around the world, we're small, yes, understandable. But if you look at in a global sense, it's not as what we had predicted. So what we've said this year, listen, we know we wanted it. We know it's helpful for the performers and for because you wouldn't want to be on stage and not have an audience. That's where you get your vibes. That's where you get all your energy. That's where you feel what you're actually doing. But again, we have to be responsible. Now, I cannot speak for any forthcoming activities, but John Williams needs to be careful, because I know if, as a chairman, if something were to happen, God forbid, and something noticeably, then I know a lot of people would have said, why? They didn't realize COVID. They're talking about this. We're talking about schools. We're talking about the place of work. We're talking about going back to this. We've had all of these considerations, and yet we say for entertainment, come on guys, let's go to the stadium. Something happens. Out of an abundance of caution.
Aren't we going to school?
I'm saying because the crowd.
Aren't we packed in church?
Not necessarily. No, I think the social distancing and the protocol is still in church. So for what it's worth, I was there Sunday, and you find the spacing is still there, and you're encouraged to sanitize, to make sure you don't even have communion now, because you make sure that all of these things. So, but for what it's worth, 49th and 50 members of the public, we hope, God's willing, we'll be able to get back to the pre-COVID way of life, so that patrons can come in without having to worry too much about all of these safeguards. For example, if we have people coming in, we have to do rapid or antigen testing, because if someone, a performer, or someone who is on stage or not on stage, and that person is unvaccinated, and that person somehow, unfortunately, something happens, it is not something that you can contain until 3 to 4 weeks, then you realize what's happened. And I prefer to err on the side of caution and say, for this year, we're going to have a wonderful production. People enjoyed your 48 celebrations. Let's have fun, but let's be safe. Let us protect. Let's have safeguards. So that is the background. But I understand where you're coming from.
Issue is going to be control, and that is this underlying issue in getting in face and in person. Because we can't seem to control people's behavior when they're in crowds or not. And you may say social distance, when they reach, they're in social distance. You may say only vaccinated, and they will say, well, what happened to us on the unvaccinated side? And you say let's mix, and then it becomes difficult from an event point of view
and the
to exercise the
logistical
control
standpoint,
and
it is,
logistically. So I see where you're coming from. I understand Brenda's question as well.
Of course, there
because
is.
we all have to try and normalize. We're going to work, but even at work, you know what is happening at work, and I could just say that in my operation, the issue is not at work. The issue is after work.
After work. Yeah.
And what you do after work, and you drop your guard. You at work, you have to be masked. You do the exercise all the protocols. You check them when they come in before work and so on. But when they leave work, you have no control on behavior, and that is where you see the positivity cases keep coming.
You know what's going to be coming in.
That's right. And I hear you, and I think in this situation, you must err on the side of caution because of the type of event and the kind of national pride it brings out in some of us who are into independence celebration. So we have to be careful still. And Omicron, as we know, is very contagious. So you don't need, yes, it's not as severe. And for those who are vaccinated, it's showing that you fare better than the unvaccinated. But it's still killing people.
It's still, and there's
in the last 2-3 weeks, we had 11 deaths or 10 deaths. So people are still dying from contracting COVID. So I hear, I mean, the arguments and
there is a balance there, and I understand where
difficult thing, but at the end of the day, it really, to me, it speaks to control of the event and how you can control or not, and people's own responsibility in saying, I'm coming to this kind of event, I need to take certain level of precautions, but they don't. And that is the problem for the event organizers, and to me, that's a challenge you face.
I just want to add to that, and understanding what Brenda is saying, let's say we all agree. 2,000, we announced the first 2,000 will be allowed in, and 2,500 turns up. And you know the crowd is going to be coming. These guys will have gone out there, they're all hyped up, they're not the managed crowd that you get to go to church that you can say, please don't sit there, you sit over there, and someone will automatically agree. And then you get to 2,000. And there are 500 remaining, and you say, right, gates are closed. How do you convince 500 additional persons who might have had a few, before they've come because they're coming to a show, or how would you? So it's the logistic police.
It sounds like that's a conversation. I put it out there for maybe some sort of reconsideration because I believe that it can happen. I believe that it could probably be the first major event where we test it. It takes a lot of work. It takes collaboration from the Ministry of Health with you guys and other players involved.
Police have to be involved.
And I just believe it requires some work, some thought, and some creativity. I do take all the things you said. I just believe we just keep holding on to this and this careful, but we're really not moving. But we don't want to put that because it seems as the door is closed on that.
It is,
so let's move on with all the excitement
no problem.
of what comes with our independence.
Exactly. Okay.
So what's happening this week?
Right, so let me say, we take it from Friday. Friday is a busy day. We have the interministerial display. It's no competition. We allow for ministries to go and decorate, make the place look good with all our colors, and that's happened. I've already seen some of the ministries have already have their place looking very nice. Then we also have national colors.
The ministerial competitions coming back?
We hope to for next for 49th and 50th.
Oh, not this year.
But not this year. Okay. This year we allow for them to just, spend time to dress it up and make it look good. We also have Colors Day, again, international or on a national level, where we allow for schools and everyone to feel proud of your colors, feel proud of your country, feel proud of your dress up and look good. And take it from there. And also we have the 48 Independence Calypso competition.
That's
on Friday. That's going to take place at the Karani James Athletic Stadium because the cricket stadium has been prepared for the upcoming event.
Right,
we spoke
right.
So we
all
had
of
to
that
shift.
is at the athletic stadium.
Everything is going to be at the athletic stadium, the parade as well as the extravaganza and everything else. And so that's going to take place on Friday. The 4th, the show starts at 8 o'clock. And we're encouraging, 7 o'clock. 8 o'clock for the Independence Calypso show, but the extravaganza is at 7 o'clock.
Extravaganza is Saturday.
It's this Saturday at 7 o'clock. So that's on Friday. Then on Saturday, extravaganza we just spoke to. We have a series of, not a series, we have a good listing of performers. We have the likes of, we have string bands, we have dancers, we have. This year, we've decided to give thanks to praise. There's a section for praise and worship.
Nice.
And I think that's something we're all looking forward to.
Nice.
Then we have a fire juggler. That is something that has never happened, but it's hopefully that's going to take place on Friday. And a host of other activities, cultural things that I'm sure we'll all going to enjoy. The production team, as per last year, remember last year, in fairness, it was a really high-class, high-powered production.
It was.
And the same team is there, and we're looking forward to a similar occurrence, in that people who are unable to come to the stadium for one reason or another can sit back in their homes with a cup of tea, with a cup of coffee, their drinks, and really enjoy the production. And that is what we're looking forward to in the absence of the crowds. So we make sure people are going to be just as happy being able to watch it at home. And then on Sunday, you know, we have the National Ecumenical Service that will be taking place at the Blessed Sacrament Church in Grenada. Again, that's virtual. But we do have the Conference of Churches. They're the ones who organize it in collaboration with us. And they've put together a nice program. We have the readings from our dignitaries, Her Excellency, Governor General, the Prime Minister, the Leader of the Opposition. We have some good reflections. We have a choir. Touch of Grace is going to be there. So we're going to be inspired. We're going to make sure that as we move forward to celebrate 48, we make sure we feel good about this particular anniversary celebration, despite, as I said, we keep saying this, but despite the platform we have to use as opposed to other platforms. And of course, the Monday, the big day, something we all look forward to. I know Brenda is always active in that, in helping behind the scenes and doing what she does best. But last year's contingent of officers, in the absence of the pathfinders, the guides and so forth. But the 7th platoon were able to assemble themselves in a way that, you know, you sort of sat there and looked, oh, wow, that's impressive. And they're continuing their rehearsals.
It was one of our best parades
I'm telling you, it was.
Yeah.
It was, and I think what benefited,
really
we had the opportunity for the drones, so that you were able to look down on the parade.
Okay.
That was very
Perspective.
different. The first time it's ever happened. So this year again, we're looking forward to Richie and his boys to be able to come along and do that for us. The police are ready. They have the numbers, the female platoon, male platoons. We have the cadets, we have Her Majesty's prisons, we have the Special Services Unit, on all the platoons that make up a parade. They're all going to be there in the number 1 dress. So again, we are looking forward to, and I'm unnecessarily repeating myself, we are very sad that we won't have a crowd, but we know 49, we know 50,
Rotarian
we
John,
know all of it.
I know your role, but I'm just saying this because I am representing maybe about 500 Grenadians,
yes.
I'm sure, who feel like me.
Agreed.
And we have to put it out there. And someone on Facebook, Depredine, Morning Depot is saying, if we have to live with COVID in this new dispensation, it is important not to allow it to evict us but to educate us how to manage living that new space by taking a common sense approach to claim our space. Gatherings like this require planning, and where else to test it than the National Stadium?
Okay, and I hear and I understand, but at the same time,
but he prefaced that by saying gatherings require planning.
Right, but
you have not planned the test of this.
No, but we have not have it. I would say if we had not had independence, let's say we had moved forward and say, no, let's cancel because of COVID and because of all these impending problems and the environment and blah. I would say yes, you have a point there. But what we do, this thing is still taking place. It's still being done.
So between today and the door is closed. That's it.
Yeah,
no reconsideration of this matter.
It is not like it's like a cruise ship.
Oh, okay.
You know, a cruise ship, you cannot, now the example might be crazy, but if it has to turn around, you can't just turn around a cruise ship in midstream, you know. It has to go for about 5 miles and then it can turn. It's like an aircraft as well.
Thanks for the education, I didn't know that.
I'm saying it's like an aircraft. The pilot cannot turn around halfway.
You have to be planning. I don't think the planning involves what he's asking for. Yeah. So I think the door is closed. I mean, without definitely, because To
And it's
plan to
logistics.
have in person in the celebrations, as John was saying, you might have to get testing done, you have to examine people at the door. It takes a lot more in terms of time.
Control,
Yeah, and
vendors,
so probably
logistics in the rooms,
49 and 50.
toilets.
It will certainly have to, by that time, we might
should
have
know.
vaccination up to a level where we think it's easier to do it.
Yeah.
We may have a strain of Omicron, because we have a new strain
Rotarian
of
John, they
Omicron.
put say yes you can. It's not a ship, it's a schooner.
Thanks for that. He's on a pushing the scooter. He's on a 747. But the point is taken.
I mean, you've consistently done, the committee that it's consistently done an excellent job of the traditional, what I would say, celebration of our independence. This year you have schools that are in, out, in, out. I mean, I know a critical part of independence is the awareness and the whole disposition of our minds in terms of what is independence and how we should celebrate independence. You know, I'm sitting there and I'm listening to the conversation, and that's great. And I'm thinking 50 years, you know, like a milestone. And I look at what happened in Barbados, you know, in terms of their move to a republic, you know. And is it possible to hope or to dream that maybe in 50 years we'll be a republic, that we'll be out of the monarchy and out of the, I'm not going to use the phrase, out of the monarchy.
I can come back and talk about it.
Let me finish, John, because it's a legacy of slavery, and you know, I have so much difficulties. You know, I'm ashamed that after 50 years of independence, that I'm still in a colonial environment. Even though we say that it is only not a semblance, but it doesn't really happen. The Queen is not in control, but it's there. And I have so much difficulties dealing with that. Is the committee, I don't know who, John, I mean, help me here. I mean, when is it going to happen? I mean, what are we celebrating?
Byron, you're applying. You say, when John comes today, right, we're going to make sure Wendy's going to kick off, she's going to open that, and then you're going to close.
We don't plan. You see, that's why we have great chemistry. We don't plan this way.
Exactly.
We really don't.
And I understand.
And to be, oh no, I mean, Mr. Campbell,
Yeah.
I love you to death, but no, you can't do that to him.
John hasn't even got a piece of note for it. Oh yes, a lot of talk about the Republic, and let us go through the processes here.
You can't do that to Rotarian.
I would have to plead the fifth on that one, but next time I will come back when you give me sufficient time. But I understand.
But the opinion I want, John,
Yes.
at 50 years, where should we be? Are we? But seriously, I mean, like, is it possible that we become a republic when we turn 50? I mean, is it politically possible?
It is. Anything is possible.
But if
I mean,
you were
at the
going
end of the day-
to, I mean, in the referendum, we were going to remove her, and we were going to do. We were ahead of Barbados, you know. Listen, let's just don't start this,
There's room for a discussion. I think it's nice to have an environment where you can create something and give it a little nudge and say, okay, in the next couple of years, or maybe when John comes back in 49, 50, we'll remind him of the Republic.
The deeper question to John is going to be, you know, how do we bring across what independence means to our youth?
Yes.
And some of us are children of the revolution, so we have a unusual take. But outside of that, part of the National Celebrations Committee objective is education about independence, what it means, what it reflects,
why we celebrating, what we celebrating.
Yes,
and the emphasis, as you said, yes, exactly. And to an extent, I think it makes sense. We need as a committee to maybe revisit our regimes and say, listen, it's not just having an independence calypso show or an extravaganza. It has to be deeper. It has to be more meaningful, more sustainable, more purposeful. And these are the things we have discussed. So we said, as we move to the 50th, let's not just, even if we are going to have an extravaganza, we're going to have a calypso show, but it has to be with a difference so that there is some connectivity to that particular activity.
Your calypso show will reflect the theme as well. What the guys will sing and what they will produce.
That is something
around the theme.
Excellent. Yeah, that is what stops them from practicing earlier, because they're always be wanting to know what is the theme.
Yes,
because that's crucial. But we sometimes, there's a link between our theme and, as I said, the budget theme. So even if we prepare our theme in advance and it does not coincide, it does not gel, there's a lot of disconnect there.
And
so
I really look forward to Serpent. He's a defendant.
Yeah, he's a
champion.
defendant.
is.
That's right.
You know,
Yeah.
we really string together words around these themes that has really
Yes.
provoked
good.
Yes.
some of them
thinking and
do, you
so
know,
on.
Lyrics,
so correct.
lyrical,
Some
yeah.
of them don't
It's a
just
really
write.
powerful lyricist.
Yeah, if you look at
and
the
his
lyrics.
performance has just gone through the roof.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
I
we've
look forward to
said,
that.
Yeah, me
we've
too.
said we have talent. If you look, if
He
you
had
look back-
competition though.
Yes,
for this year, yes,
he
he
has
has a
some
lot.
competition.
And I've noticed, compared to, I won't say previous years, way there, way down there, the guys who take part are serious about it. It's not just
They
going
are,
and staying
they
for
are.
a contribution,
They
for a
are.
token.
Yeah.
They are really out to perform. And
Yeah.
when I looked at the performances last year and the previous years, the quality of songs, some people would say, if you listen carefully, it would be hard to distinguish between our performers and the Trinis. You know, years ago, you could tell whether this is a Grenadian.
yes, we
But
bring
we
them
are
up
way
wrong,
above and
I mean.
beyond. So I'm
Yeah.
saying,
I mean,
our
we-
quality of
we
songs,
own.
our lyrics, our stage performance and everything
We
is
distance
really
ourselves
second to
long.
none. So that's why I give kudos to all the
Yeah.
guys and all of them. I'm looking forward to all of the shows, not just the Independence Calypso show.
So John,
but
where
also-
can we go to get a program, a listing of the timing and all of these things?
It's on our Facebook page.
Facebook
Yeah.
page,
Yeah, if
okay.
you
National
go on,
Celebrations
it's all there, and on
Okay.
Facebook it gives all of the activities, what is taking
Okay.
place. But for the purpose of this morning's presentation, I'm reminding persons, it's an 8 o'clock start for the for the Independence Calypso show. 7
Friday
o'clock
night, right?
Friday night.
7 a.m., 7 p.m.
Yeah.
for the extravaganza.
Saturday.
The church service is at 10 a.m. at the Blessed Sacrament, but we normally have prelude to,
Okay.
Okay.
interlude of music by the police band. So by but quarter to 10, if you tune in on the various
Yeah.
platforms or on
Yeah.
GIS, you will get it. And again, the military parade,
Excellent.
like last year, it's
Yeah.
10 o'clock. So all that information, we now operate on a social media platform. So if everyone
Prime
goes
Minister
there,
stands and addresses an empty stadium again.
no, he doesn't. He stands and he looks into the camera and he speaks to 100,000 Grenadians and tells them, "This is my national address."
Yeah.
Whereas the stadium is different.
Yeah, I
speaking
guess
to the
he would
diaspora.
embody.
More the diaspora.
He
and
would,
the
he
national
would
audience.
embody the feel as if
Yeah,
he's
yes,
doing a
yes,
national
yes,
address.
that's right.
But you know, you come
But
to
he
the,
understands. He's done it so many times. He can handle himself. So for what it's worth, and he's
you want to
preparing
bet
for
you feel,
the.
you want to bet he feel like me?
I
Ask
wouldn't
him and
argue
see.
with that. I think 500, but maybe 5,000 feel like me. But for what it's worth, we agree. Come 49, you're going to challenge me. I'm going to make sure we, as a committee, if I'm still there, we'll try to
We
have
gave
the
you
input.
such a hard time.
No, I
this
enjoyed
morning.
it. I think your discussion is purposeful and lively. I'll come again. But it was nice to come and share. And I think, as a country, we were saying prior to coming on air that, it's the Europeans and others who love Grenada.
Yeah.
Grenadians, sometimes we don't appreciate what we have.
Yeah.
It's only
Yeah,
when others
yeah, yeah.
come
Yeah.
and they see and they feel and they think, wow, is this real?
Yeah.
And I've
Yes.
had friends from Europe all over
Yeah.
when they come to Grenada.
Yeah.
They say, John, this is just unreal,
Because
So
it's
we
not
want-
it's not just the spice that the thing is. There's a spirit in the people that exudes spiciness.
It is the people.
You know, so it is how we
Yeah.
make them feel.
For a tourist to drive around the island on a tour, on a bus, and make a stop, and the guys in the area who's cooking a pot or and say, hey, come on, join us. And they think, what? Is this real?
It
yes,
is
come
real.
on, have a taste. And there are people in the world. So we are very,
Only in the green.
I had some block food yesterday. I
Yeah.
was talking to some folks about marijuana. Very interesting conversation.
the
But-
food and the
That's a
conversation
program
was
we
good.
had. Yeah.
Yeah, that's another good one.
Yeah.
So
So
where
it was
was
good.
it? Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so let's celebrate. Let's be happy.
John, well,
Yes.
I mean,
We
we
have
wish you
what
the
it-
best. I think,
Thanks.
we
He's
not
been a
get
great chairman.
we not get in person as we want. I mean, I think you guys have done an excellent job as
Yes,
well in
yes,
planning and keeping
yes.
the momentum.
Yes.
Because it's about, and you have a big one
And we
coming.
still
50.
feel that
50,
independence
40,
is happening.
50, yes.
You know,
It's a lot of work.
nothing wrong with 49, but 49 is going to build up to 50. So 50 is, I think, a signature, would be a
Yeah.
signature
It would be.
event. And
they,
Yeah.
yeah,
you know,
we
so
want
you
it to
guys
be
have
more,
a lot of work to do coming up to that. So, we
And our 50th should the planning though, the planners of it really probably should be intergenerational, because at 50 we have a whole group of individuals who is going to take us beyond the 50. So I think how our 50 is reflected, celebrated, their voice should be a big part of
50
it.
is
So
what? Silver? Or, 75?
50 is gold.
50 is gold.
Jubilee,
Yeah.
golden jubilee.
Exactly.
So we need
But
some gold cups and some.
Added to that, what we said, and I take on board the points, we are looking at creating an environment that it becomes national. So yeah, there is a National Celebrations Committee, but the agreement is we have to subdivide it, go out into the parishes and areas.
Right.
So that, for example, if, and I don't want to give any extra advertisement, but let me just say, if Citizen Spain want to do something, and they said, you know what, we're going to have a dinner and dance to celebrate our 50. It doesn't have to come from us.
Right.
We can give all of the support. We can say to all of the business houses, all of the corporations out there, let's make it our celebration.
Yeah.
So instead of waiting for the National Celebrations Committee to go and start hanging out all the pennants and all of the buntings, I've written to them, this year, saying, come on board, let us make a start. So come 50th, it wouldn't be anything new. All of the companies will know that on the build up to the 7th, we're going to have maybe artists, persons who have performed, who have served the country well. They can come back and do special performances. So maybe our 50th, I'm not speaking for the production team, but would be, let's say, for the last 10 years, all of the winners or the 15 years. So we would have like King of Kings and Queen of Queens or whatever to make it something special.
Yeah,
But we
I
want
like
to
the
make
sound
sure
of
that we involve Grenadians, not just the National Celebrations Committee, that the parishes that have their groups and their associations, where they're from the church's perspective, can say, let us do something for our 50th. So the whole island will be celebrating, not necessarily as part of, as a national thing, but island-wide.
Great.
And if we have that, everyone will get to feel of it.
John,
That's
if we're
the
not a
intention.
republic, I'm not celebrating. John, I mean,
I'm
I'm not going to 50.
You could make Montmartre a republic,
Yeah, I'm not going into 50. I'm not going into 50 with the Queen as a head. John, I'm sorry. I'm putting it to you.
But you have a good program here, so maybe if you start from the let the public know by the 50th,
Look
we'll
at
be good
trouble
to
he
go.
trying to put you in
But
there.
I've got broad shoulders. Thank you
But
for
you're a
that,
good
Byron.
dancer.
We're from the same part of the community.
You
as
did a total moonwalk there, You just start sliding back. You're very good.
well. You think so? Yeah, I've been practicing.
Thank you so very much, and please give our commendations to your committee
Thank you.
for all the work that you've done. These things, they come off easily, but it's a lot of work, and lots of detailed planning and so on. And we look forward to this week. Already feeling festive, and us. We like
We like it now. It's in our blood. It's in the blood. It's
Yeah.
in the blood. But yeah, I'd like to thank the committee as you're there, and
Yeah.
Minister has been very supportive of us. Our
Yes.
Minister of Culture,
Yes.
Honorable Yolan Bain Hosford, and we have little challenges, but we get through those challenges, and we look at solutions as opposed to the situation, and moving forward.
Absolutely.
So
That is what makes up 473 and keeps us special.
True.
Very much.
Thanks, Rotary and John, and
You're welcome.
our best
My pleasure.
wishes, and happy 48th to you.
Thank
And
you.
we look forward to 50.
my pleasure.
With you at the helm.
Yeah.
See what happens.
Again.
Gentlemen, that's our program. Mr. Campbell, you've been very naughty this morning. What Mrs. Campbell gave you for breakfast?
I know,
before you come down?
I've been painting my flower pots in red, green, and yellow. I've been
Oh,
decorating.
it's a fume from the paint.
Look at it. I've been, look,
Ooh.
I've been,
Oh,
I've been
nice.
even preparing my meals with some colors and so on. But I want to go beyond
Nice.
this. John.
Yeah, I agree.
I want to go
think
beyond this. That's the
We'll
truth.
work together. We'll-
for the 50th anniversary.
Okay.
And we could do this.
Yeah,
I mean,
get on.
seriously, we need to talk to the politicians and say, look, we need to come together on this issue.
But they did. They gave us a chance
No, but we
to do it,
have to
and
do
we
it
say
again. It's
no.
not something you give up on. I mean, like,
Well, let's see.
yeah, okay.
Senator Liali, have a good week.
Thank you.
What's coming up this week?
A lot. That's
Okay.
why I have to leave.
Okay. Always so many
Yeah.
calls on your time. Always
Yeah.
busy. Thank you so very much. We won't be here next Monday, but guess what? Independence. Yes.
Yeah.
The parade, the
I look
military
forward to
parade,
this, yeah.
Prime Minister's address, and all of that will be on. So please make sure that you're tuned in for that across all mediums of broadcast entities in Grenada, television and online. That's our program, everyone. We'll see you the Monday after next. For this final day in January, this has been
Yeah.
Perspectives. Oh, Senator Liali, Dr. Graves Andy told me to give you a special hello He's now the registrar at the University of UG.
Okay.
And he said that Perspective is compulsory viewing for 6 of his baccalaureate students at UG who are doing mass communications. I said, Perspectives? Why Perspectives? He said, because it's great.
That's good.
Okay.
Yeah, that was
I'm
special.
happy to hear of his progress in UG. I mean,
Yeah.
he's an excellent
He told me to
gentleman.
give you a special hello.
Yes, my good friend.
All right,
Yeah.
so that's our program, everyone. On behalf of all of our team here, Senator Liali and Mr. Byron Campbell, and our special guest panelist this morning, Mr. John Williams. Thank you so very much for viewing. The team who put us on air, Blondell George, our director, Kirk Oliver, our cameraman, Nazim Benjamin, who operated virtually this morning but still got our professional streaming. Thank you so very much, Nazim. And Richie Oliver, our executive producer. I am Brenda Batiste, and it's not too early to say wherever you are, happy 48th anniversary of independence. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.